Hi, I'm Chris Wardlaw for CarGurus, and this review is all about the updated and upgraded 2018 Subaru Outback. One of the original crossover SUVs, the Outback was a trim level for the 1995 Legacy station wagon. In 1996, in a stroke of sheer brilliance, Subaru jacked up the suspension, put some oversized fog lights up front, added white letter tires, and called the Outback an SUV. Now remember, back then the Ford Explorer was just igniting American fervor for SUVs, but the Explorer was a truck and it drove like one. By contrast, the Outback was a car offering decent driving dynamics and good fuel economy in a package that also supplied all-wheel drive and lots of ground clearance. Today, the Outback faces a ton more competitors than it did in the mid-1990s. Is it still worthy of your love and affection? Let's go for a drive and find out. You don't need to spend a lot of money on a brand new Outback. Prices start at just $25,895 for the base model, and they all come with standard all-wheel drive and a continuously variable automatic transmission. Now, in addition to the base model, Subaru also offers a 2.5i Premium for $27,995, a 2.5i Limited, which costs $32,695, and a 2.5i Touring, which runs $36,490. If you want 6-cylinder power, which I strongly recommend, you can get a 3.6R Limited for $35,395, while a fully loaded 3.6R Touring will run you $38,690. Now, depending on the trim level, Subaru offers a handful of factory-installed option packages, as well as a long list of actually very useful dealer-installed accessories. Now, my Crimson Red 2.5i Limited test vehicles got the optional Eyesight package, and that adds the company's sophisticated driver assistance and collision avoidance systems, as well as a navigation system. The total price for my review vehicle came to $34,780, plus $915 in destination and delivery charges. Now, the Subaru Outback recipe really hasn't changed since the mid-1990s. Basically, you take one legacy station wagon, you add SUV styling cues, you raise the suspension, and you've got an Outback. Now, the approach works. Last year, the Outback was the 10th best-selling SUV in America, and it was Subaru's top-selling vehicle, just ahead of the company's smaller Forester. For 2018, the Outback's bumpers, lights, and grille are new, and the Limited trim has a new wheel design. Subaru also installs new side mirrors, and the company says they're designed to cut down on wind noise. Do I like the styling? Yeah, sure, why not? I mean, this is a Subaru Outback. It's a tool of convenience, not a stylish mode of transportation. Nobody's buying this vehicle for its looks, they're buying it for its substance. Now, similarly, the Outback's interior is all about utility. Subaru has improved the cabin for 2018, layering on a little extra sophistication in terms of the materials and how they look and feel. In particular, I really like the dark matte look fake wood trim. But what you're going to notice most, especially if you're familiar with the Outback, are the updates that produce a much quieter cabin. Comparatively speaking, this is the best of a long list of minor changes that the company's made to this vehicle. Now, one of my favorite things about the Subaru Outback is how easy it is to get into and out of. The seating hip point is almost perfect, making it so that you can essentially slide right into and right out of the driver's seat. Now, the front passenger is not quite as lucky. That seat does not have a seat height adjuster, so it sits lower in the vehicle. Still, compared to a typical car, it represents improvement when it comes to entry and exit. Both front seats are quite comfortable, as are the rear seats, which offer plenty of thigh support, legroom, and space for feet. Cargo volume measures 35.5 cubic feet behind the back seat and 73.3 cubic feet with the back seat folded down. Now, those numbers are on par with the largest of the compact crossovers, but they do fall a bit short of the Outback's primary competitors, like the midsize Ford Edge and Nissan Murano. However, the space is quite usable for a family of four. Subaru arranges the Outback's controls in a very simple, straightforward, and no-nonsense manner. This year, a new steering wheel debuts, and it is a pleasure to grip and to use. New Starlink Infotainment Systems also debuted for 2018, and they offer a larger standard display screen in base versions of the car. Most other versions of the Outback are going to have an 8-inch display as opposed to a 6.5-inch display. And that's the same size as the top version from last year. But the screen itself is upgraded this year to behave a lot more like a smartphone's, which means you can pinch to zoom on the navigation map and you can swipe and scroll and things like that. Now, highlights of this version of Starlink include faster startup time, faster response time, improved voice navigation software, and over-the-air updates, which are free for the first 3 years of ownership. The improvements in terms of how the system works are palpable, especially with regard to startup time. And that's important because top versions of the Outback include something called a reverse automatic braking system. Now last year, because of the way my driveway is angled, last year the Outback would slam on its own brakes every time I tried to reverse out of the driveway. And my only option, because you can't just turn reverse automatic braking off and leave it that way, my only option was to wait for Starlink to start up and push the little RAB off button. This year, because the system starts up faster, it saves me a lot of time in terms of having to wait to turn RAB off. But here's the hidden benefit. Is the Outback's got a redesigned rear bumper this year, and it's the rear sensors that control reverse automatic braking have been relocated. So now I can back out of my driveway at a reasonable speed without the car slamming to a stop every single time. So 2 improvements for the price of 1. Okay, moving on. Subaru is a company that is absolutely committed to occupant safety, and that is reflected in the Outback's Top Safety Pick Plus rating from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. This vehicle also gets a 5-star rating in every federal government crash test assessment, except for rollover resistance, in which it gets a 4-star rating. And the only reason it gets a 4-star rating there is because of the raised suspension and the higher center of gravity. Additionally, Subaru makes its excellent Eyesight suite of safety technologies available on every Outback except for the base model. They're powered by a dual camera system that's located right behind the windshield, and it supplies everything from adaptive cruise control with stop and go capability to a lane keeping assist system. Now, any Outback that has 2.5i in its name is equipped with a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine. It makes 175 horsepower at 5,800 RPM and 174 pound-feet of torque at 4,000 RPM. It simply isn't enough. That's true. Subaru does offer a 3.6-liter 6-cylinder engine with limited and touring trim levels, and that solves the problem thanks to its 256 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 247 pound-feet of torque at 4,400 RPM. But the problem is that that 6-cylinder engine is still normally aspirated, which means it falls victim to the thinner atmosphere that is common to mountainous regions, the very same regions where the Outback is overwhelmingly popular. What this vehicle needs, and I've said this before, is a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, something with a big, fat, juicy wad of torque stretched from, say, 2,000 RPM to 5,200 RPM. Now, where might Subaru find one of those? Oh yeah, under the hood of the WRX. That would make the 6-cylinder engine obsolete, and it would give Subaru buyers in places like Denver, the Mile High City, an Outback that can accelerate out of its own way. Here in California, where I moved about 20 years ago after spending several years living in Denver, the Outback 2.5i is acceptably powered. From a full stop, the Outback feels fairly responsive. From a rolling stop, not so much. And on several occasions, I simply could not take advantage of holes in Los Angeles traffic because there just wasn't enough oomph coming from the engine, and that was incredibly frustrating. Now, at least the continuously variable transmission is agreeable most of the time. It even sounds and feels kind of like a traditional automatic. And changes for 2018 are said to make the CVT quieter than it was before as well. In fact, Subaru has undertaken numerous changes this year that are designed to make this car quieter, and in my opinion, the company has succeeded. Additionally, engineers have tweaked the steering, suspension, and braking systems for more agreeable driving characteristics. Frankly, the main difference I noticed with the driving dynamics had to do with the Outback's ride quality. It feels softer than before, which is probably what most people prefer most of the time. But the problem is that I detect a lot of extra body motion compared to the previous Outback. And that's especially true in situations where firmness is preferable to me. At one point while I was driving this car, the brand name Buick popped into my mind, but then of course I had to banish it because modern Buicks aren't really soft anymore, are they? Generally though, the handling is secure whether you're on pavement or you're on dirt. Standard all-wheel drive certainly does help in this regard, and that's especially true given that it comes with standard active torque vectoring technology. Now, during a brief drive on a trail, my test vehicle's X-Mode traction system with hill descent control combined with the Outback's generous 8.7 inches of ground clearance inspired plenty of confidence. If you are looking for a mid-size crossover SUV that can actually get you pretty deep into the woods and you don't want a Jeep Cherokee Trailhawk, then the Outback is one of the best candidates for the job. Finally, I do need to point something out about the Outback's fuel economy. The 2.5i is rated to get 28 miles per gallon in combined driving, while the more powerful Outback 3.6R is expected to get 22 miles per gallon. This test vehicle, a 2.5i, only got 21.9 miles per gallon on my test loop. Last year, when I test drove an Outback 3.6R on the same exact route, it got 21.6 miles per gallon. Now granted, I encountered more red lights than are usual during the city portion of my driving time in this vehicle, but obviously this 4-cylinder engine is working harder in real-world driving than it is in EPA test driving. I'm a big fan of the Subaru Outback. I always have been. Speaking from experience, it goes places most other crossovers can't. It is nothing short of brilliant in a blizzard, and it remains comfortable for hours behind the wheel. It needs just 3 things. It needs a front passenger seat height adjuster, it needs more cargo space, and it needs a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. Hey, if you're only going to get 22 miles per gallon, you might as well benefit from all that extra power and torque, am I right? Be sure to check out my full review of the Outback on CarGurus.com, and if you found this review helpful, please share this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. For all of us here at CarGurus, thank you for watching.